All right, folks, welcome into another brand new edition of the 901 Soccer Podcast, a sort of emergency edition of the 901 Soccer Podcast. I'm your host, Lawrence Docker. You can find me on Twitter at L.93. You can find the 901 Soccer Podcast on Twitter at 901 Soccer Pod. You can find Bluff City Media on Twitter at Bluff City_media. Over on Facebook, it's 901 Soccer and it's Bluff City Media. And of course, right here on YouTube, please like the video, please comment on the video, please subscribe to the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. Now, the reason we're talking is it was announced today. We've got a new we've got a new soccer team coming to Memphis. Memphis Football Club, Memphis FC, will be joining USL League 2 in 2026. That's next year. And they are set to play their games in the stadium out at Mike Rose. So the demise and departure of 901 FC has not left us without some form of USL soccer for too terribly long. That is the news of the day. We have a soccer team coming back to Memphis. Now, before we move any further, I do want to say that everybody should still continue to go out and support the soccer programs at the University of Memphis. They should do it for the rest of this year, and they should do it next year because the Memphis women play tonight. Unfortunately, I will not be there, but they will be playing tonight against UAB out at Park Avenue campus, and the city has gotten behind this team this year. They had 2,200 people turn up for the Tennessee game. That was the game of the century. And I think if we all continue to support those programs at the University of Memphis, it's going to be nothing but good. So, yes, we are all very glad that we now have another USL team back in Memphis. Granted, it's USL 2 and not the USL Championship or League 1 or the new Division 1 league, whatever that's going to look like. But, you know, we still have the Tigers. The Tigers never left us. They were always here. And our coverage of the Tigers is going to continue. That means written previews and recaps for every home game. And that means weekly podcasts here on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. So the coverage of the Tigers is not going to change. And for right now, they are the big game in town when it comes to soccer. So that's who we're going to stick with. And when Memphis FC fires up, we'll be covering them too. And I haven't yet decided because I've only known about this for about 5 hours now. I haven't yet decided what to do next year if there's a conflict. And luckily, I don't think there will be any conflicts because if I'm not mistaken, the USL 2 season is very short and only runs from May until August. And so the overlap between the two will be if any, will be very small. So fortunately, I don't think we're going to have head-to-head. Which was not the case with 901 FC and the U of M, and to a lesser extent, U of M and 901 FC with the Americans. So that being said, again, I encourage everybody to continue to go support the Tiger programs, but we have a USL2 team here now. And it's kind of, for me personally, I guess it's kind of mixed emotions, and we're just going to be firing from the hip on this show tonight. There's not a lot of information out there other than they're playing at Mike Rose. They're starting next year, and they're owned by Kerry Talley and his brother Clark. And of course, if you've been around soccer in Memphis for any appreciable amount of time, Talley is a name that you're going to know and recognize. Kerry played in MLS for 15 or more years, I want to say, or thereabouts. Won MLS Cup in like 99 with DC United. Is now in some form or fashion, I think he's the technical director for Germantown Legends. So he's Memphis soccer royalty. It was the Talley family who got Mike Rose built. And I don't remember what year that was. I want to say that was the late 90s. Don't hold me to that, but I think that was the late 90s is when Mike Rose got built. And, of course, there is a tournament at Mike Rose every year in March called the John Talley Showcase. So the name Talley carries a lot of weight in the Memphis soccer community. So from that perspective, I can't think of anybody better that you would want to own a USL2 team in Memphis. That being said, them playing at Mike Rose makes all the sense in the world. Not for the reasons that everybody's saying, because that's everybody thought 901 FC needed to play at Mike Rose, and I kept telling everybody, no. Mike Rose was perfect for 901 FC for a game when AutoZone Park was already booked. But other than that, No. 901 FC averaged, even at their worst, 2,800 people a game, and the stadium at Mike Rose holds 2,500 people a game. And as far as like actual locker rooms or stuff like that, it is not what you had at AutoZone Park. So, but considering that it is the Talley family that got Mike Rose built, Germantown Legends plays a lot of games at Mike Rose. It makes all the sense in the world for Memphis FC to be playing at Mike Rose. So, I also kind of reject the notion that the only people that are soccer fans live in suburbs. That may be where the kids that play youth soccer. But I'm actually reading a book right now that has a litany of wild inaccuracies. So I might want to take this with a grain of salt. It's called American Soccer, History, Culture, and Class from 2015. And it's a very interesting premise. And essentially the premise of the book is we got to get rid of pay to play. And nominally that's a great idea, but it's going to be hard for me to take the conclusions of the book seriously when so much factual information that is so easily verifiable is so wrong. If you've talked to me about it, you know what the inaccuracies are in there. But they had an interesting point in there that says, why are there all these kids and all these families that spend so much time and so much effort and so much money and go all over the place to play youth soccer, and none of them follow any kind of professional soccer team? Why is there no? And if you think back to when we had John Kennedy from the Always Irish show on our show here about a month or so ago, and he said there's, every time I drive around, you drive by a soccer complex and it's full of kids and parents and people playing, and then you don't ever see the support trickle up. Where's the disconnect? So that's why I never really got on board with the idea that 901 FC had to play at Mike Rose because that's where the soccer fans were. No, that's where youth tournaments are played. I don't know that that's where the soccer fans were. That's not to say that there aren't soccer fans out in the area of Mike Rose, but that's just, you get what I'm trying to say. So, but for this team in USL2, there's no stadium requirement. A lot of the teams in the league are playing in high school football stadiums in front of 15 people. So playing at Mike Rose makes all the sense of the world. That's where Memphis City, back in the old NPSL days, back in 2016, that's where Memphis City played. And then they moved to CBHS, to Tom Nick Stadium in 2017. Probably not so coincidentally, the crowds went up a little bit. But the good news for Memphis FC is it's close enough to 901 FC's departure that there's still people that knew and loved 901 FC that are going to be going to these games. And it's also the soccer support and soccer media infrastructure is set up now where it maybe wasn't when 901 FC got started. Oddly enough, 901 the support got worse every year as the coverage got better, which is still kind of strange to me. But here's what I was saying. When I am talking about myself. That includes written content and 901 Soccer podcast episodes here on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. So that is an advantage that Memphis FC will have over the beginnings of 901 FC, in that there is an apparatus that will be dedicated to covering that team. That's me. I'm the apparatus. But you also have Jonah Dillon over at the Commercial Appeal, who had a write-up today. John Varlos over at the Daily Memphian had a write-up today. 92.9. I know John Martin at the end of his show spent probably 10 minutes talking about this new team with Brad Carson. Jeffrey Wright and company, in like the 3 o'clock hour on his show, spent 5 or 10 minutes talking about this new team with his crew. I'm recording this at 5:30, so I don't know if Gabe Kuhn has gotten there yet or not. But so that's already a lot of local media coverage of this team, and they haven't even kicked the ball yet. Let's hope it stays that way. And this is one of the things. You can go back to the show we did in either December or January, where the topic of the show was, what are we going to do if and when Memphis gets another team? And one of the things is we got to have more coverage from the local media. And I can't do it by myself. Try though I might. So we're off to a good start today, I would say. I would also add to that it is on you, the soccer public, when you see these outlets do write-ups, put stuff on the news, discuss it on the radio, it's on you to consume that. It's on you to, if we can't sit here and yell and scream that nobody talks soccer, nobody talks soccer, nobody talks soccer, and then when they do talk soccer, nobody consumes that content. Share it on, retweet it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, post it in Reddit, post it in your Slacks or your Discords, or click the links, like do it all. Reward them for talking soccer and show them that it is worthwhile to continue talking soccer. That could be at all levels. That could be U of M, obviously. That could be New Memphis FC. That could be high school. John Varla writes a ton of high school soccer content. And if you follow the 901 Soccer Podcast on Twitter, you notice that always gets retweeted, because this is the 901 Soccer Podcast, and we do talk about all things 901 soccer. And having a lot of high-quality high school soccer falls under that umbrella, so I have no problem with sharing that. So that's something, that is my challenge to you, the people. If and when you see local outlets, Channel 5 today, 92.9 today, Daily Memphian Commercial Appeal, if and when you see those outlets producing, creating soccer content, please consume that content. If you don't have a subscription to those outlets and stuff's behind a paywall, I can't tell you how to spend your money. But at the very least, you can share it for other people who might. So that is, if we are going to yell and scream about we need more people in the media talking soccer, we need to show them that it is worthwhile to talk soccer by consuming the content that they create and showing up at the games. Now, Memphis FC is going to, I don't know what the ticket pricing is going to be. I don't know how many home games they're going to get. I don't know who the opponents are going to be. My suspicion is that they've said it's the Mid-South division of the Southern Conference. So I know Little Rock Rangers is a USL2 team. I think Mississippi Bria down in Jackson is a USL2 team. So that's 2 easy trips for Memphis fans. Not that you necessarily need to go on the road for every game or anything like that, but back in the old Memphis City days, we had the traffic cone rivalry with Little Rock. And of all the USL2 teams, Vermont obviously made all the headlines this year with their run to the championship, and their every game was like 300 times the capacity of their stadium. Annapolis Blues every so often will pop up there with 14 or 15,000 people. And then the Little Rock Rangers, every so often, they jump up there with 6 or 7. So, and needless to say, those are all crowds that dwarfed what 901 FC was getting at the end. So, there might be, schedule permitting, there could be a Bluff City Media road trip to Little Rock, because I've been to War Memorial Stadium, but I haven't covered a game in War Memorial Stadium. I was there for a high school graduation. But it'd be cool to be in the press box and just add that to the list of games and places I've covered, because I'm a weirdo like that. And I keep all of that on a spreadsheet. But it's on you, the people. I'm going to do what I can. So far, the rest of the local media has done. I know Carrie Talley is going to be on with Tim Van Horn tomorrow morning on 98.9 at 7:30, 7:45, I want to say. So it would behoove everybody to go listen to that. So, it's gonna take all of us, and I think success, or making it work, or whatever you want to call it, for Memphis FC is going to be different than what it was for 901 FC, and I think that just comes with the turf, and that's just part of the difference between having a team in League 2 and having a team in the championship. But I want it to look more like Vermont, Annapolis, and Little Rock. And I don't know that it will, because those are, if everybody could do it, then everybody would do it, and there wouldn't be anything special about Vermont, Annapolis, or Little Rock. But I would much prefer it to look closer to that than some of the other teams in this league that are playing in a public park, and the only spectators are, just people there walking their dogs. I mean, this is an actual facility. It's a stadium. It's not the best, but it is a real stadium with a real press box. And I'm going to encourage everybody to be out there. And who knows, maybe you could in some way, shape, or form do some sort of partnership with the Tigers. And I think this is something that I wanted 901 FC to do, and they sort of kind of maybe tried to do it. But in terms of advertising and marketing, obviously your budget as a USL2 team is going to be a lot less than your budget as a USL Championship team. But you got to explore the partnerships. And if you're playing at Mike Rose and you're owned by a guy who coaches a lot of teams for an organization that plays a lot of games at Mike Rose, there is no reason not to be out advertising at every single tournament and every single league game at Mike Rose. There's no reason to not have a presence trying to get people to come to your games. And then I would also have a good relationship with the University of Memphis, with Coach Mulrooney and with Coach Monaghan. Now, for example, the U of M women's team is playing a game tonight against UAB. Unless the U of M says no, and I don't know why they would. I feel like they could benefit from this too. If the U of M says no, then they say no, and there's nothing you can do, and you did what you tried. You tried, and they said no, and we move on. But have some sort of presence at U of M soccer games, at least in the run up to next year, to get awareness and get people excited for the team. And you do probably have to make it beneficial for them. And like I said, we're just firing from the hip, so I haven't had time to sit down and think how that might be beneficial for the U of M. But that's where my mind takes me. I need to see the effort, because until the very, very end at 901 FC, I didn't see the effort, and I would hate for this team to end up going the way of 901 FC. Because how many soccer teams would that be? That would be two versions of Memphis Americans. That would be a 901 FC. That would hypothetically be Memphis FC. That would be Memphis City. That would be the Rogues. And I think that would be 6 or 7 soccer teams over the years in Memphis that have come and gone. And I would much prefer that not be the case. Now, on the positive side, next year is the World Cup. So I think just the World Cup being here, even though none of it's in Memphis, I think you're going to get overflow and interest. Like, hey, I've been watching the World Cup all day. This is a lot of fun. Oh, we have a team that's playing out at Mike Rose tomorrow night. I'm going to go. A couple of concerns that I have are they're not giving themselves a lot of runway. Go back to that podcast that we did that I've talked about earlier, where what do we do if we get a team back in Memphis? And one of the things I said is you've got to give yourself a lot of runway in the build up to it. I was thinking 1.5 years, 2 years. They're giving themselves 6 months, 8 months. That's not a lot of time. Not a lot of time to get an infrastructure, a club infrastructure in place. That's not a lot of time to get a roster put together. That's not a lot of time to build a fan base. And I'm going to do what I can. And so far, everybody else is too. But, we need – that is a concern, you're not giving yourselves a lot of time to get ramped up. And I do wonder if maybe that is because they want to get in on the World Cup next year and hopefully get the boost that way. And if it works out that way, great. But if it doesn't, then it's going to be, why didn't you wait until 2027? Another concern that I have, and this was actually not one that I had initially thought of until somebody texted me this, with the owner of the team being a very prominent member of the Germantown Legends, what weird political high school kid drama from all of the other youth clubs in town is this going to cause? Like, when this person texted this to me, I was like, I hadn't thought of that, but I've refereed long enough to know that the youth club scene is everybody hates everybody, but then everybody goes to the other club and then moves over here. And, you got Legends, you got Lobos, you got Ole, you got Tennessee Soccer, you got DeSoto, you got half a dozen Arkansas teams, you've got Play Where You Stay, you've got Memphis International, you've got all of these different entities. And none of them really like each other, but all the coaches and all of the players and all of the parents and everybody just kind of moves around to all of them. I'm glad that all I do is referee the games and I don't have to keep track of any of this, because it sounds like it would be an absolute nightmare to have to deal with on a regular basis. But this point was, this is basically the guy for Legends is the owner for this team. Are they going to get the support from Lobos, from Tennessee, from TSA, from so on and so on and so on? And I would hope so. My plea to you, if you are a Lobos parent or player, or a DeSoto FC parent or player, or a Tennessee TSA parent or player, I would say, why does it matter if the Legends guy is running this? This is a not quite professional team, but this is the highest level of soccer that we're going to have in this city, and you should go support them regardless of what youth club you play for or what youth club is involved in this. So I guess that is a concern. I would prefer it not be an issue, but I've been around long enough to know that that's not going to be like, talking to one or two people at 901 FC after their demise and departure was trying to get all of the youth clubs in the area to play nice with each other and get behind 901 FC. Apparently was like performing brain surgery, because it was like everybody just hates everybody apparently, which is an exhausting way to live, especially if you're just dealing with youth soccer. But, what do I know? I'm just an idiot talking into a camera in his kitchen. But anyway, so I guess those are probably, going to be the two biggest concerns that I have, is not a lot of runway leading up to it and potential youth club drama. Now, whether those should be the case or not, I don't know. I certainly hope they aren't. But it's like Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park when he says, boy, I hate being right all the time. But this is a good day. Make no mistake, whatever the concerns are, this is a good day for soccer fans in Memphis. You've got the World Cup coming next year. You've got a new semi-professional team coming next year. The women's soccer team at the University of Memphis is a top 10 team in the country right now. The men's team is having a rough go of it, unfortunately. But, perhaps for the men's team, I don't know what the NCAA, somebody's going to have to tell me this, because, again, I know a lot about soccer, and there's a lot about soccer that I don't know anything about. And so NCAA regulations, as far as if you are a college soccer player, can you play for a USL2 team, since there's not overlap between the seasons? I don't know. My guess is probably not, but if the answer isn't an outright no, that might be something worth exploring. But I think, at least in the short term, this will be fun. Long term, I don't know. In the short term, this is more soccer in Memphis, which means more opportunities for people to be exposed to the game, and more opportunity for me to create more content. Yay me. But all in all, I'm excited. Initially, when I saw this, I had a little bit of, I don't know if trepidation is the right word, but I was a little bit conflicted, because, you can go back to last year, and I think one of the points that I made was we need some time to grieve the loss of 901 FC, and it hasn't even been a full year yet. And granted, by the time that Memphis FC starts next year, it will have been a full year. But this announcement today is less than a year after 901 FC deprived us of their company. So if that was really a small little conflict, of emotional conflict I had. And I know there's been a lot of people in my mentions and on Facebook and texting me and messaging me that, have said similar things, where it's like, we miss 901 FC. We wish they were still here, but this is what we've got. So this is what we're gonna get behind. And I applaud the sentiment of wanting to get behind them. I would also just add that we've had the Tigers this year. I would encourage you to get behind them. There's still plenty of time to get behind them. So go ahead and go get behind both the men's teams and the women's teams at the University of Memphis. But when Memphis FC starts next year, everybody needs to go out and get behind them too. All right, that's going to do it for us. As more information becomes available, I will be more than happy to share it with everybody. But all we know right now is that Kerry Talley and his brother are running the show. They're playing at Mike Rose, and they start next year. That's really all that we know at this point in time. The club's website is up and running. They do have a Twitter feed. They do have a Facebook page. I think it's at Go Memphis FC is the Twitter, and then just Memphis FC or Memphis Football Club on Facebook. So go follow them, get their numbers up, and then the club website is up and running, so y'all can go explore that. I did a cursory look at it when I put my article together today, and just to make sure that they were going to be playing at Mike Rose, and but I think that's going to do it for us today. Exciting time, and I hope everybody gets out there and supports this new team when they fire up.